Hello, I'm Travis Luther, President of Lawfather, and welcome to Lawfather Legal News. According to the American Association of Justice, every year hundreds of thousands of Americans are killed or seriously injured because of preventable medical errors. According to a study published by the Institute of Medicine, as many as 98,000 Americans die every year from these errors, with financial costs approaching $30 billion. Though the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention do not list preventable medical errors as a cause of death in their annual ranking, if they did, it would come in sixth, just behind accidents and ahead of diabetes and Alzheimer's disease. With us today is Colorado medical malpractice attorney William Godsman. Good afternoon, Mr. Godsman, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
What is the main thing people should know about a medical malpractice case?
Well, the main thing that they really need to know are these are extremely difficult cases.
Mm-hmm.
They're difficult to be successful on if you're making a claim against a medical professional, and they are very expensive to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, lawyers, unfortunately, have to be very selective in the cases that they can take for their clients. And the reason is simple. You don't want to take a difficult case that's going to cost a lot of money and lose.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure you've got a good chance of success for your client. And because of that, there's a very rigorous review process for any of these claims.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And let's talk a little bit about standard of care. I've heard this word before. How does standard of care play into a medical malpractice case? And first, define standard of care, and then tell us how it plays.
Sure. In a typical negligence case where, let's say, an auto accident, the standard is if the other driver was negligent and caused injuries, you have a claim against them. In medical malpractice, the term is if a medical professional, if his actions fell below the standard of care and caused harm to a patient, that patient is entitled to bring a claim. So a standard of care for a doctor is much like a standard of care for a driver. For instance, a driver coming to a red light. The standard of care is to stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's very understandable for anyone who drives or observes driving. For a doctor, for each particular procedure they may be doing, there is a standard of care. And in medicine, to establish what that standard of care is, you need, as what we call an expert witness, another doctor who practices in that field of medicine to comment, to give an opinion on whether the defendant doctor met or did not meet the standard of care. And if the doctor did not meet the standard of care and caused injury to his patient, that patient can bring a claim. However, as I said when we started talking, if a doctor misses a standard of care, does not meet a standard of care, and causes minor harm to someone, you can't justify bringing a medical malpractice claim because they are so expensive and are so difficult. It's a lot different in that regard than your typical auto accident.
Are there any red flags that become obvious to you that would help a person understand whether or not they have a medical malpractice claim or whether they've just had a bad outcome?
That's a very, very good question, and it's very difficult to answer. What I recommend that people do, if they have had a serious injury from a medical professional and they think the medical professional did something wrong, something that did not meet the standard of care, they should contact a competent medical malpractice attorney, discuss it with them. If the attorney thinks it's worth pursuing, the attorney will get the patient's medical records, review them. Then if it looks like there's something there, then the attorney will have those records reviewed by an appropriate medical professional to give an opinion on whether that medical professional thinks, based on the records, someone acted below the standard of care and this is important, and as a result of that, caused harm. So you have to really prove three things. You have to prove a medical professional fell below the standard of care. You have to prove that that failure to meet the standard of care caused an injury, and then you have to prove what the injury is, how it affected the person, both economically and non-economically. And in shorthand, we say sometimes you have to prove negligence or failure to meet standard of care, in this case with a medical professional, causation, and damages.
Are there any practice areas within the medical profession that seem to be more vulnerable to medical malpractice claims than others. I know there's a lot of talk about birth trauma cases and things of this nature. Is it, in your experience, is there any particular procedure or kind of doctor that seems to put you maybe more at risk for some kind of malpractice?
Any medical professional can be subject to a medical malpractice claim, and I should go back and define what a medical professional is. In Colorado, there's a specific group of acts that deal with medical malpractice claims. And they provide that any claim against any medical professional is known as a medical malpractice claim and is subject to those rules. And that includes claims against doctors, podiatrists, chiropractors, nurses, medical technicians, the full gambit. Anyone who is involved in medical care is considered a medical professional, and as such, their actions are governed by the medical malpractice laws in Colorado.
Okay. Well, Mr. Godsman, I know your offices are in downtown Denver. Do you provide free case consultations on medical malpractice cases?
Yes, I do. If someone calls my office, I offer them an opportunity to come in, and half an hour, hour and a half, however long it takes for me to do an interview and determine whether it's a claim worth pursuing.
Okay. All right. Well, if you are a loved one or considering seeking legal assistance regarding an issue of negligence within the medical profession, I would encourage you to contact William Godsman today at 303-455-6900, or you can visit him online at godsmanlaw.com. Thanks again, William, for joining us. If you have a legal question in Colorado, you can visit our attorneys online at www.lawfather.com or call our toll-free confidential law line at 855-LAW-5280. Again, that's 855-LAW-5280. William, thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Travis.